Do you remember the sound? That slow mechanical whir as the tape slid into the VCR? The soft click when the machine grabbed it? And that moment of suspense while the screen flickered before the movie finally started? For millions of families across America, that sound meant one thing. Movie night was about to begin. But here's the wild part. For almost 2 decades, VHS tapes didn't just dominate home entertainment. They owned it. Entire living rooms were built around them. Video rental stores popped up on nearly every corner. People collected tapes like treasure. And then, almost overnight, the empire collapsed. So how did VHS become the king of home entertainment? And how did something so massive disappear so quickly? Today on TechVibes, we're diving into the incredible story of the rise and fall of the VHS empire. And if you grew up during that era, trust me, this is going to bring back some memories. To really understand the VHS story, we have to travel back to the 1970s. Now imagine this for a second. If you wanted to watch a movie, you had 2 choices. You could go to the theater, or you could wait months, sometimes years, for it to show up on television. That was it. So the idea that you could watch a movie whenever you wanted at home, there was no streaming, no DVR, no Netflix, no YouTube. Once a movie left theaters, it basically disappeared for a while. And that's where VHS entered the scene. In 1976, the Japanese electronics company JVC released the first VHS format. VHS stood for Video Home System. The idea was simple but revolutionary. Record video onto magnetic tape inside a cassette that you could play on a machine at home. Suddenly, movies weren't tied to theaters anymore. They could live in your living room. But here's the funny thing. VHS wasn't the only format trying to do this. There was a rival. It was called Betamax, and it came from Sony. And for a brief moment, Betamax actually looked like the better technology. The picture quality was slightly sharper. The tapes were smaller, recording time. But VHS had one huge advantage. Early Betamax tapes could record about 1 hour. VHS tapes could record 2 hours. And that one difference changed everything. Because suddenly, people could record an entire movie, or a full football game, or their favorite TV shows. And once consumers realized that, the battle was basically over. By the early 1980s, VHS had won the format war use. And what happened next was nothing short of a cultural explosion. VCRs started appearing in homes all across America. At first, they were expensive, really expensive. In the late 70s, a VCR could cost over 1,000 EOS. That's more than $4,000 today. So owning one felt like owning some futuristic luxury gadget. But as prices dropped through the 80s, more families started buying them, and once that happened, an entirely new industry was born. Video rental stores. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you probably remember the experience. Friday night. Your parents pile everyone into the car. You drive to the video store. Rows and rows of VHS boxes line the walls. Action movies, comedies, horror films, cartoons, new releases sitting behind the counter, and that feeling when you found the one movie you wanted, but someone else had already rented the last copy. Brutal. Stores like Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, and thousands of independent shops turned VHS into a weekly ritual. At its peak in the early 2000s, Blockbuster alone had over 9,000 stores worldwide. But the real magic wasn't just renting movies. It was what VHS allowed people to do for the first time in history. Pause live TV. Record your favorite shows. Rewatch movies endlessly. People recorded entire TV seasons onto stacks of tapes. Sports fans recorded Super Bowls. Kids watched the same Disney movies over and over until the tape practically wore out. And if you grew up in that era, you probably remember something else too. Rewinding. Always rewinding. Some video stores even charged rewind fees if you returned a tape without rewinding it, which led to the creation of one of the most wonderfully unnecessary gadgets of the 90s, the Palk and Tape Rewinder machine. You'd put the tape in, press a button, and it would rewind faster than your VCR. It sounds ridiculous now, but at the time, it felt like a lifesaver. By the mid-1990s, VHS was absolutely everywhere. Movie studios made billions selling tapes. Families had entire shelves filled with them. Some people even started collecting VHS editions like rare artifacts, and certain tapes became incredibly valuable. The infamous Disney Black Diamond VHS tapes from the early 90s, special collector editions, out-of-print horror films. Even today, some collectors still hunt for them. But while VHS ruled the 80s and 90s, technology never stands still, and quietly, a new challenger was emerging. In 1997, something new arrived, the DVD. At first, most people didn't think much about it, just another format. But the moment people saw the difference, everything changed. DVDs had crystal clear digital picture quality, no rewinding, no tape wear, instant chapter skipping, bonus features, and the discs were tiny compared to bulky VHS cassettes. Suddenly, VHS started to look old. Stores began stocking more DVDs. Consumers slowly upgraded. And once DVD players dropped below $200 in the early 2000s, the shift happened. Fast. By 2003, DVD sales officially surpassed VHS, and the empire began to crumble. Video rental stores replaced their walls of tapes with shiny discs. Movie studios stopped releasing VHS versions, and those once essential VCRs quietly disappeared from living rooms. The final Hollywood film released on VHS in the United States was A History of Violence in 2006. 30 years after VHS first arrived, the era was over. But here's the thing. Even though VHS disappeared, the memories didn't, because VHS wasn't just a technology. It was an experience. It was the excitement of picking out a movie, the smell of plastic cases at the video store, the warning screen at the beginning of every tape. Be kind, rewind. It was recording your favorite TV shows because you might never see them again. It was family movie nights with popcorn and blankets. For a generation of people, VHS was the first time entertainment felt personal. And today, something unexpected is happening. VHS is making a tiny comeback. Collectors are hunting for old tapes again. Retro fans love the analog look of VHS playback. Some filmmakers are even releasing limited VHS editions of movies for nostalgia, because sometimes imperfections are part of the charm. The tracking lines, the fuzzy picture, the mechanical sounds of the VCR. Those little quirks remind people of a simpler time, a time before everything was instant, before streaming libraries with thousands of titles, when watching a movie felt like an event. And honestly, there was something magical about that. By the way, if stories like this bring back memories for you, take a second to like the video, share it with someone who remembers the VHS days, and subscribe to TechVibes for more retro tech history and nostalgia. Because there are so many amazing stories from the golden age of home entertainment. The VHS empire lasted roughly 3 decades, from the late 70s to the mid-2000s, and during that time, it completely changed how the world watched movies. It turned living rooms into home theaters, it created the video rental industry, and it gave an entire generation some of their favorite childhood memories. Today, everything fits inside a phone, millions of movies, instantly available. But sometimes, convenience replaces the magic, because there was something special about holding that chunky black tape in your hands, sliding it into the VCR, and waiting for the movie to begin. So here's a question for you. What's your strongest VHS memory? Was it a movie you watched over and over again, a trip to Blockbuster on a Friday night, or maybe recording something special off TV? Share your story down in the comments. I'd love to hear it.